Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Renno, the host here of AI and Data Mastery. I'm here with Adam Cardona. He is the owner and founder of Elite Healer Sports Massage. And we're going a little bit outside of our normal guests for today, but I really feel like Adam can provide a ton of value to us as business professionals. Talking to business professionals on a daily basis, one of the biggest things we forget about literally is ourselves. We're so worried about employees and business and marketing and ads and scaling. And we got like 15,000 other things on our going through our minds on a daily basis that we forget to, hey, take a minute and go for a walk, stretch, use a foam roller, go get a massage, go hit the gym. All these, even from a nutrition standpoint, we obviously oftentimes neglect ourselves. So I thought Adam would be a wonderful fit to jump on here, talk about how us as business professionals can really take better care of ourselves, right? Because the body obviously affects the mind, and we need to stay sharp to be ready to make decisions, quick decisions, effective decisions, the right decisions on a daily basis. And that all kind of ties together. So without further ado, Adam, welcome to the show. And do you want to maybe give a quick, elevator kind of pitch background on yourself, why you got into sports massage, and why it's so important?
Well, thanks all. Thank you for having me, Jason, and letting me come on your show. Well, a little bit about myself and Elite Healers. I was really inspired to create a sports massage company even a few years before I had opened it, because prior to being a sports massage therapist, I was an athletic trainer for a while, working, getting people fitted into shape. And as I did that, I noticed, both for myself, because I've done a few martial arts and consistently strength train, that recovery is so important. And then one of the things that I really got inspired to head into this field is because when you're trying to recover and you go for a massage and you're brand new, you're like, do I do deep tissue? Do I do spa massage? And they really get different results. And at the time, there was nothing in New York City that was dedicated to sports massage. You'd find a person that does sports massage in a company, but if you can't get with them, then you're really struggling and you're kind of out of luck, because not only does it help athletes recover and kind of get back to their thing quicker, it helps also just people in general that have muscular imbalances recover. So what I wound up doing was doing the research, kind of just seeing where in the market we could fit, and then bringing it right into, I'm from New York City, but bringing it right into the heart of Midtown New York, and basically opening up there. Started small, started the year before the pandemic. So a year later,
That's a whole different story.
I'm just going to say a year later, we got reset, but we survived that. And it really, aside from just what I had believed, it was like, this really works, because we were shut down for like 2 months and people were still like knocking on the door. Hey, I need my pain relief. I need to recover. And it's not just athletes. When you sit there for long hours, especially if you're in makeshift furniture working from home, that's not really office furniture, you start to get lower back pain, you start to get all this. So I opened up Elite Healers, and little did I know that not only were we just going to be helping athletes and people with injuries recover, but really into like office professionals and everyday people, because whether you use your body a lot or a little, the body does develop muscular imbalances, and those things have to be addressed to help people recover.
Gotcha. So when you say muscular imbalances, maybe go a little bit further into that. Does that mean like from sitting all day, right? So maybe your upper body's being used more than your lower body, or I
I'd
don't.
argue even the upper body is not really being utilized. Let's say if like you're always turning to type and then you're like answering the phone, but you're doing this while seated. You have hip flexor muscles that they get nice and short. And if you're sitting there for hours on end, that's when, if you ever get up out of the chair and then your legs are completely straight and then you have to straighten yourself up at the waist, that's a sign of tight hip flexors. And some of the hip flexors, they connect on your lower back. And this is why when you're sitting for hours, you get lower back pain. But also, we are creatures of habits. And what I like to tell my clients is that there's an old wives' tale. If you make that face, it's going to stay that way. Well, that's true of your entire body. So if you're always like this, turning like this, and you're always like this on the phone, you're going to get imbalances in your neck.
Or like this on the phone.
Yeah, and your thumbs are going to get imbalanced. So what you're repeating a lot compounds out. So if you're avoiding being physically active, you're not walking, because those things will help undo it to a certain degree, and it'll just keep you healthy. But as you repeat those movements, you start to shorten and shorten and shorten. That's why sometimes you'll have a person, and after years in an office, they're like this, the back muscles are overstretched, the pecs are short. So really, you help open yourself up, because once the muscle knots settle in, that's where it really holds stuff into place, and you start really getting those imbalances. And muscle knots work like knots on a rope. The more you have, the less that rope's going to be able to stretch, elongate, and do anything else aside from being short. So you can't really stretch that away. It's like pulling the knots. They might even tighten up a little bit. So you need to release that. Then you need to do stuff like movement, and that helps kind of loosen you up and get you back into things. And one thing that I've noticed is whether you're an athlete and you're running or doing whatever it is, or you're just sitting there, over time, before you get into a lot of pain, things start to feel heavier. It feels like, oh, my legs aren't moving as much because they're very imbalanced. They have all these muscle knots. But then you start to feel lighter. But if you don't take care of it, let's say with all that turning, you're getting tight on your right side, then eventually you might have to turn on your left side and then pull a muscle. And then that's when the imbalances develop into injuries, which affects everybody, even business professionals. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I opened up this company, and I know the lifestyle where you can get stuck in that one position for hours and hours on end. So we all need to take care of ourselves, Jason.
Yeah, no, that's you literally described me, the hip flexors, the tight hip flexors and all that. I mean, I'm trying to do a better job and be proactive. I purposely, don't sit for more than like an hour at a time. Even my wife and kids laugh at me because how much I hit that foam roller for my lower back. And, in the past, a trainer had given me some stretches for my hip flexors and stuff. But one thing that I think maybe a misconception that I had that you just hit on was stretching doesn't release the knots. It sometimes could actually make it worse. So like if you're knotted up and you just go and like I just hit my foam roller and stretch out, I'm not actually releasing the knots. In some cases, I might actually be compounding the problem by not having them massaged out or worked out, so to speak.
Yeah, or like let's say you get into that position again where the back is overstretched and then you're doing this, you're going to overstretch it even more. And then you shorten this area, allowing more knots to form and develop. What I like to tell people, it's you have to have a foundation. And what is a foundation? A foundation is usually like a square or a triangle. It's multiple points. It's not a line and it's not a single point. That's not a strong foundation. So think of your stretching as just one point in the foundation. You add the muscle release through massage therapy and foam roll. Foam roll makes a good supplement, but is 60 or 90-minute massage is a lot easier than you're going to do 60 to 90 minutes of foam rolling on yourself.
Yeah, no, I barely do 6 to 9 minutes.
I like to see someone do that. And then remember how I said it's either a square or it's like a triangle. Then the other one is movement. You want to move dynamically, not just forward. You want to do stuff like pick from one side, bring it up to the other, bend down, come up. Challenge your body in all the ways it was meant to move. And our ancestors were doing that for years. But as we've come into offices like the ones that you and I are in, we've moved less and less. So that is the other part of that foundation. So you have the muscle release through massage and foam rolling, you have stretching, and then you have movement. And without a massage and movement, you're also going to lose your elasticity. Everyone wants to think about flexibility, which is good. I could get my arm all the way back like that. But without elasticity, it's like when you lose the elasticity in your feet or in your ankles and you go to sleep and then you wake up and you step and you're like, oh, because it just hits so hard that you feel that pain because the body became so rigid, it can't bounce back.
Oh, the muscles are just...
Yeah, they're no longer elastic. That's why I always say elasticity and flexibility are important.
I remember there was years and years ago, almost 20 years ago when I was in the mortgage business, and one of my mentors was a pretty fit guy. He was like in his 60s. And that was one of the pieces of advice he gave me was like, you got to stay flexible, like keep your hips flexible, keep your shoulders flexible, stretch on a daily basis. Like when you're 65 years old, nobody's going to give a crap how much you can deadlift. But if you can bend down and touch your toes, like that's impressive, right? So it's,
Yeah.
the flexibility and maintaining that elasticity of the muscles. But
Well, I
then
can
what about,
you. If Grandpa has 450 deadlift for 3 repetitions, I don't know about you, but I'm going to be impressed.
oh, well, obviously I'll be impressed, but if Grandpa can't bend over and, tie his own shoes or something, then you're like, damn, what happened to Grandpa?
Yeah.
But one thing that you had mentioned, or maybe I just mentioned, weightlifting. So when you say movement, do you, like, as a business professional, do you need to get to the gym and like lift weights, or is it body weight exercises? I guess, like, how important is weightlifting when it
Well,
comes to movement and exercise?
calisthenics and body weight is good, but we spend a lot of time like this or like this with our arms in front of us. Now, if we're doing push-ups, we're in that same exact position. So what does that do? Again, it's going to create that imbalance where those muscles are overstretched. So unless you're really creative, maybe you're doing some like inverted rows by you holding onto a pipe or something stable. You do need to do some level of strength training to keep those muscles firm and tight. Because when you're looking at even cardio, and cardio is great and all, but cardio alone will eat at your muscle and fat if you're not doing some kind of strength for your legs. This is why some runners, and no offense to runners, why they get rail thin, because they don't do any strength training and they're eating away at the fat and the muscle. So when you're doing at least some modest resistance training, hey, maybe you do it at home and you do it with some bands and you do band work, or you're in the gym, you could hit the cable machine or dumbbells or the kettlebells. You're just creating that resistance that allows your body to strengthen itself, because like I said, you make that face, it's going to stay that way, true with the whole body. If you pump those muscles and you get them active, they're going to more likely going to stay that way. So then it's easier for you to be there looking prominent. And then as a business professional too, on the vanity side, if you're doing that to keep your body in shape, then you don't need a loose suit. You could look good, maybe have the unbuttoned a little bit, like the jacket unbuttoned a little bit so it could show the prominence of your chest, black suit, white shirt. So that white shirt kind of just shows off. It also not only makes you feel good, but it also makes you look good.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm 6'4" and I weigh about 205 to 210 right now, which is a decent weight for me. But I've been up to 250, and like to try to put on a suit when I'm weighing like 250 versus when I'm weighing 210 makes a gigantic difference. And like you said, it's just confidence. Like I have forward rolling shoulders, so even just looking at you here, I'm constantly trying to like push my shoulders back, and constantly trying to remind my kids too, so they don't develop that habit with the good posture in the shoulders. But it's just, again, business. It's just about presenting yourself, because
Yeah.
you show up to, whether it's a Zoom call, which 90% of businesses nowadays, or you're showing up in person at a trade show or somewhere. But if you're presentable, you're well taken care of, and you don't have to be ripped and have a six pack. But if you're a healthier person, then typically it's assumed that you have better habits. And I'm not saying you're going to be a better business person, but just overall, it's indicative of your character and the person you are, I feel like.
Yeah. And I mean, when I look at it, and of course, I'm a guy in my own personal time, I'll look at some podcasts and stuff. And it really does create a difference on camera, because I won't mention people that I don't think are out of shape. But then you have a guy like Patrick Bet-David, who, he was in the military. He goes to the gym. He talks about that. He's open. And then you look at him compared to the people on the Valuetainment show, and he looks like the sharpest man in the room. He's also getting haircuts, but it really, especially as a regularly, I think like once a week he had mentioned. But
Yeah, I watch Patrick. I'm a fan of his.
yeah, but when you're doing those things and you're keeping fit and in shape, especially when you're the leader, you inspire other people. And I forget if it was from him or a different leader that I follow, but basically when you take that attitude, you inspire the people on your team to be greater. So not only do you have to tell people what to do, but when you're taking care of yourself, you're like, hey, how is Patrick or Jason like just always healthy and in shape, because they're not suffering from aches and pains? Man, I got to figure out what's in their sauce. What are they?
Yeah, it's just that energy. You feel good about yourself. That confidence, that energy just kind of comes out, when you are healthier and taking care of yourself, for sure.
Yeah, and that's why even when it comes to like So we're right in Midtown Manhattan in New York City. So of course we do attract the athletes, but then we have the business professionals, and sometimes they're like the last minute people. They come in on their lunch or right after work, and they're like, "Oh my God, I have all this pain." And then we work with them, and in our system, it's not just like in a spa, it's massage to feel good, and they just say come back when you want. We actually have a system that if you go like to our website or even look at one of our videos on the YouTube channel, like how often to get a massage, we tell you the difference between using massage just to feel good, but then how to use it to repair yourself, which is kind of similar to the physical therapy model, or how to use it for maintenance, whether it's prevention or prehabbing yourself with massage. And those things always go better when you're doing something physical. So if you're doing repair, medical massage with us, and then physical therapy, one takes care of your weak points, physical therapy, and the other one we get rid of scar tissue, the muscle knots, and the combination gets you to move better and feel better. Of course, it would take like a few weeks of consistency, but session over session, week over week, you begin to see that difference in improving your body. But then like once you're better or it wasn't too major, then you go into maintenance. And depending like on your age and a few other factors, it could be like every 3 weeks if you're like high intensity, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or even like if you're like 25, 26, you're just athletic, but you need recovery, then maybe you could get away with 8 weeks. But usually it's right in the range of 4 to 6 weeks that I recommend a person to come in and just take care of it, especially when you have like chronic muscle issues that keep coming back. You just want to get ahead of it, because if it builds up too much momentum, that's where you get into things like not being able to sleep, injuries, and new problems, because then those imbalances led to compensation in the rest of your body, and now you have new issues.
So it all circles back, like to kind of recap, it all circles back to balance, right? Like it's just finding that balance, obviously balance in life in general, but it also shrinks down into your body, finding that balance of your body. If you're constantly like this at the desk, what movements can you do to contradict and balance out, so you don't get those, what you referred to as like short muscles or short-sighted,
Yeah.
muscles and tendons and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, well, if I've been sitting at the desk too long, I like to do some like rows, some bent over flies, maybe a little bit of scaption to just get that
Yeah,
shoulder,
something to like kind of bring the shoulders back, right?
but to strengthen them. So the muscles in your back pull together, and then it does that to you. Because like the muscles that come forward that give you those rounded shoulders, they connect to your shoulder blade and the spine. So by strengthening them, you make it shorter. So then the space between the shoulder blades and the spine gets shorter, and then you have a more prominent
Yeah,
chest.
you get that bigger posture.
That's a secret too, because even bodybuilders, if they're not doing a balanced workout, they'll be massive, but then they'll be like
Yeah, you
this.
see those guys with those giant chests and they're all just like hunched over.
Yeah. But if they did some back work too, then you'd see how really massive those muscles are.
Very cool. Well, this has been great. I think I've honestly learned a few things. The main thing is the whole stretching doesn't get rid of the knots. I don't know why. Maybe that's just it was my own assumption. Like, oh, I'm tight, I'm knotted up, I'm going to go stretch it out. But I know that was one thing I took away from it. But
And the thing is, you won't get to that full range of motion. Like, sure, you'll be able to go back a certain amount, but once you get rid of the knots, you'll be able to go to that true end range that you should naturally be at, the kind of movement that you'd have when you were like 5, 6, 7, 8.
Well, I don't know about any other listeners, but I know I'm ready to go get my massage booked. It's been a while, and I think the biggest thing is, massage just isn't something you do on a Sunday, or that all the girls get together and do on a Sunday and put cucumbers over their eyes and get a massage, right? And over mimosas. Like it is a strategic piece of, I don't want to just say a recovery plan, but it's just almost like a mobility plan. So for somebody like myself, I go to the gym, I mess around with my kids, but I don't consider myself like an elite athlete. But there's still a lot of benefit from massage and, the massage therapy to get rid of those knots and, from sitting all day and being hunched over. Got to keep looking at myself now, pushing my shoulders back. But any other, as we kind of wrap things up here, any other like tips, tricks, and last minute piece of advice?
Well, first off, at Elite Healers, we don't have cucumbers, hot stones, or anything like that. We have more like red light therapy, We do cupping, Graston technique on top of all the massage stuff. So that way we can really bring that experience. And one thing I want you and the listeners to know, because I know that right now we're only in New York City, is that when you're trying to find a good massage place, if it says spa on it, you're probably not going to get orthopedic massage the kind of way you need, or sports massage. You want them to have them call themselves like a studio, like a sports massage studio, a medical massage studio, a massage therapy studio. You want that kind of language in there, because then you get a little bit closer to what you're actually looking for. Also, if they're like one of the things we do is I follow the physical therapy model where we're taking notes. So let's say you come in for back pain and it's a 9 out of 10 and it's not actually in your back, it's in your hips. We're going to take note of that. So then I know, even as a customer back in the day, when the massage therapist, we've been working on something and then I come back to continue working, I'm like, oh, so what do you need? It's like you're back to square one. You should really hold it to a high standard. And if they don't do something like that and you're really trying to take care of a problem, go find someone else that'll actually remember what they did with you.
Yeah, that's not looking for a one-off massage, but looking for actual continued care plan.
Yeah, exactly. And
good advice.
Yeah, so that's one thing I want to say. And then, because even like you were talking about the foam rolling, one of the things is you can use foam rolling light and brisk in the morning, like no more than like 15 seconds per area, to kind of warm up the connective tissue, get the blood flowing, kind of get you moving for a warm up. But then if you want to use a foam roller to cool down, you do it at the end of the day or at the end of activity. You do it slower. You spend more time in the area. So you're talking about 45 to 60 seconds per muscle, and feel. And when you're warming up, you don't really stop on the knots, but when you're cooling down, you could stop on the knots. The longer time and just the slower motion to the area also communicates to the nervous system that it's time to relax. So it'll also help you break it down and be able to relax better. And then as you're doing a cool down, do it before you stretch, because then you'll, at least, even if you don't break up the knots, you're going to really loosen them up and you'll be able to get better results out of your stretching that you do in the evening as well.
Awesome. That's really good advice. Well, wonderful. Honestly, I think this has been a great value. I'm glad we had you as a guest. Like I said, I know I learned something. I think the audience is learning something too, and we really appreciate you having on the show. Feel free to, I'll make sure we have it in the show notes and everything below your website. Feel free to click on the website, learn more from Adam. Feel free to reach out to him if you have any questions, or if you are in the New York City area looking for a great massage, obviously you know who to go to now.
Yeah, you could just go to Elite Healers Sports Massage on the website.com or across all socials. It's also Elite Healers Sports Massage. So that's a real quick way to find us if you need us.
Yeah, follow along and keep learning from Adam and his team. And we appreciate everybody logging in today. We hope you grabbed some value, and stay tuned for the next episode coming up here in the next couple of days. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much.